Welcome back to our daily Bible study. Once again, I'm Matthew Gage, pastor at Faith Baptist Church, Decatur, Texas, and today we'll be in Genesis chapter number 19. Genesis chapter number 19. One of the more famous incidents in the scriptures, one that even most folks who don't go to church will have some inkling of knowledge of this story, and that is the story of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. So we're going to jump right on in. There's a bunch of theories on some of this. I don't want to chase down everything, including even the actual locations of Sodom and Gomorrah, what exactly happened. I'll mention a few things probably as we go along, but my main goal is to get through this in a timely manner, as is my goal in all of these, and just give you a little bit of something to chew on or think about. So anyway, I don't think we need much more introduction. What we looked at last time was, of course, God warning Abraham. Abraham talked to God and said, if there's 10 righteous, we'll spare the city. Well, spoiler alert, there's not 10 righteous in the city. And what we're going to find here is just a massive breakdown of society, of morality, that leads to God just wiping these places off the map. So let's jump in and look at that. Genesis chapter number 19, verse number 1. And there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. We'll go and read verse 3. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. So first thing I want to know is there's two individuals. What happened to the third? Well, I think these are probably the two other individuals that were traveling with God / the pre-incarnate Christ that we met in the previous chapter. These two angels come in. Lot is sitting in the gate. Now, that's something very easily to pass over here, but that means that Lot was very respected. That's a place of honor. It's a place of business. You can compare that, I think, in the book of Ruth and a few other places. Him being there, that's significant that he is there. So he's not just dwelling in this city or dwelling near the city. He is a part of the city. He's something like a mayor, a councilman, something along those lines, to put it in modern terms, but he is integrated into the city and the system of Sodom. And when he sees these men, I wonder if he, like Abraham, recognized what they were or the possibility of what they were. So he goes out of his way to kind of protect them, to bring them in, to nurture them, and to do what's right, maybe in the back of his mind, knowing that it wasn't safe for them if they continued with the plan they originally did. I wonder if maybe he isn't trying to protect some of his friends there in Sodom, knowing what would happen if they were to, not be sheltered in Lot's house. Verse number 4. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every corner. And they called unto Lot and said unto him, Where are the men which came into thee this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. So you can imagine almost a riot breaking out as this crowd surrounds Lot's house. And I can imagine them banging on the door, maybe banging on the wall, or, the shuttered window of some sort, and, saying, hey, where are those men? Bring them out. Now, what the scripture says here that they want to do, it talks about knowing them. That's the same word that's used to express sexual relations, as it talked about Adam knew Eve, his wife. So it does appear that they were wanting to do some type of homosexual act with these men, on these men. Some people downplay that and just say one of the modern theories on this is that it's less about the homosexual act, but more that they just did not express the true hospitality that they should have, like we saw Abraham do in the previous chapter. There may be something a little bit to that, but I don't think we can downplay just how corrupt morally and even in the sexual relations that these people were having. And that's going to be further played out the deeper we get into this chapter, just how depraved this society is that Lot and his family are now a part of. Verse number 6. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore they came under the shadow of my roof. So he says, okay, we'll make a deal. Instead of you attacking these men, I'll give you a couple of my daughters. This is just sick. This very offer, this situation, this is a terrible, terrible deal. Lot's trying to protect, I think, what he realizes are holy angels. But at the same time, look what the price he's trying to pay to do this. It's sick. Verse number 9. And they said, stand back. And they said again, this one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. So as he's standing there, they said, well, who made you our judge? Who made you ruler over us? And now we'll do worse to you. Tell you what, Lot, if you want to offer something else, we'll take you. And they're coming in to attack Lot. Verse number 10, but the men, those are the angels, put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them and shut to the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. So as the people outside are suddenly struck with blindness, it doesn't even seem like that stopped them. They didn't even disperse. There's still a riot going on. I mean, this is a supernatural kind of similar to a police, throwing out smoke grenades or tear gas, but the mob still pressing forward and pressing forward. I mean, that's the situation we have here. Verse number 12. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any besides, son-in-law, and thy sons, and thy daughters? And whatsoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of the Lord, and the Lord hath sent us to destroy it. So they said, if you've got anybody here, get out. Judgment's coming. Talk about deadlines and crossing line. I think these were the final acts, just straw that broke the camel's back. We'll use all the metaphors here. This is where they crossed the line, was with what they did here in this night. So they said, get all your family. So verse 14, and Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. So when he goes out to warn them, they think, this guy's crazy. He's lost his mind. What is he talking about? A God? He's going to judge us? What? This is insane. So they don't listen to him. They pass him off as an insane man, or somebody making a joke, making light of it. So verse 15, and when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, arise, take thy wife and thy 2 daughters, which are here. I think that's all that's left of his household there. Lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, upon the hand of his 2 daughters, and the Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. It's amazing there. He says, while he lingered, he knew what was going on. He went to tell his family, said, get out. But even still, he's lingering. I wonder if he's trying to say, well, who else can I save? Can I convince my daughters, my sons-in-laws? He's not wanting to turn loose. Here in a little bit, we're going to, a lot of people like to take jabs at his wife and what she did, but look at what he's doing. He's lingering. He doesn't want to leave. Verse 17. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain, escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. And Lot said unto them, oh, not so, my Lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto. It is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? And my soul shall live. And he said unto them, See, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, and I will not overthrow this city for which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou be come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar, which means little. So when they tell them, they say, get out of here now, the place where I kind of think Sodom and Gomorrah was on this plain on the south end of the Dead Sea. And they said, get up out of this plain, get up onto a mountain, be safe. I said, well, I don't want to do that. I want to go to this little city. I don't know what he's trying to do here, if he's trying to keep some comfort, if he's trying to protect some people, trying to save somebody. I'm not sure what's going on in his mind, to be honest here. But they do escape towards this city. Verse 23. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. Now here we go. What happened here? Here's a spectacular judgment from God. The fire and brimstone. We use fire and brimstone quite a bit. That expression. Well, what is it? What is this talking about? And there's a couple different theories that people have seeking natural explanations, or if God used something in the natural world to do this. One theory is that there's some like petroleum kind of things there, tar kind of things, and maybe an earthquake happened and that tar stuff came out, and there's pressure and it catches fire, and that's what this destruction was something relating with an earthquake and this like tar like stuff from the ground that catches fire. Another theory is that maybe it's an asteroid that comes down and strikes. Either one of those I think are plausible, that God could do this. God could just say, hey, I want fire and brimstone. Boom, it happens. That's what God works. God can do whatever he wants to. So whatever happens here, this is a terrible, terrible, tragic event, not just on Sodom and Gomorrah, but the entire plain, the entire area, their area influence, and not just, the people, but even, the crops. I mean, God is wiping this place off the face of the earth. Verse number 26. But his wife, that's Lot's wife, looked back and from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. Now, they were commanded, don't look back, don't look back. What does she do? She looks back. What does she look back? Well, she's got loved ones there. Maybe she's looking back, longing, wanting to go back. She's hoping that this really isn't happening. I don't know exactly what's in her heart, but Scripture says she became a pillar of salt. Christ even talks about this in Luke 17:32. He talks about remember Lot's wife. That's one of the favorite memory verses of most folks. Next to Jesus wept, remember Lot's wife. Those are two great memory verses. But she became a pillar of salt. And by the way, even the Jewish historian Josephus claimed to have seen this. Some early church writers claimed to have seen this place. And there's a couple things traditionally that are pointed out and say, well, that could be it. We don't know. This would make sense in a way, think about it. If there's something falling down from out of the sky, whether that's from the earthquake or an asteroid, something hits her, covers her up, and, where she's standing there is suddenly just a pile of smoking salt. It's all very plausible. Verse 27, the scene shifts back to Abraham. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord, and he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. Now, around here where we live in Texas, it's not unusual during dry conditions. In fact, we've had a little bit here recently, especially very hot, like during the summer too, very hot and dry, windy conditions for us to have grass fires. And sometimes you can go out, and where we live is, kind of high in the county, and we can look out all around us. And there's times, during really dry spells, we can look out and you can see numerous grass fires going and see that smoke. Well, I can kind of picture this Abraham looks out towards that plain from a hilltop, and as he's looking out that direction, there's those black plumes of smoke rising up, and not just from a campfire, not just from a city, not just like from a factory, but as if that whole part of the world is on fire. And I can just imagine that in my mind as he sees that. Verse 29. And it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain that God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. So God remembers the promises made to Abraham. He's going to protect Lot. So verse number 30. We pick up here. Now these last few verses here, this to me is, I think, one of the saddest aspects of this story, and it's often overlooked. It's a very sad, morally, it's a very sick story that takes place right here. But it shows the corruption of Lot's family, of his own morals. It's just a terrible, terrible situation that happens right here. Verse number 30, and Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in the cave, he and his 2 daughters. Well, of course, you'd be afraid to live in that city. Look what just happened to all the other cities around there. Why would you want to stay living there? If you're down there and there's an earthquake, you live near the ocean and the city next to you got wiped out by a hurricane, wouldn't you think about moving too? So that's a similar deal to what he does. So he goes up into the mountain where he feels like there's going to be some safety. All that's left is, of course, his wife is gone, his daughters, sons-in-law, all these are gone. So it's just his 2 daughters that are left. And here they hatch a scheme, verse 31. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we may lie with him, and we may preserve seed of our father. So, like I said, this is just sick, this plan, this incestuous plan that is hatched here. They say, we want to carry on our father's name and his family, his heritage. That's a big deal back then, carrying on the family name. But then they say, well, there's no men around here. Well, there's plenty of men. They're just not the ones that just got wiped out in the plain. So what do? They hatch this plan to get their father drunk, to have sexual relations with him, to conceive children, to carry on his legacy. So verse 33, and they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came past on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Just the details of this, tricking the father, getting him drunk. He's so drunk, he doesn't even know what's going on. Verse 36, thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. What a sad, sad, sad verse. And it's not one without ramifications in these next 2 verses. And the firstborn bare a son, and called his name Moab, the same as the father of the Moabites unto this day. So we'll meet them again later. Of course, we're very famously involved with the book of Ruth, but the Moab means a washpot, and it's just a mixture of people. And so this group of this Canaanite tribe, where does it come from? It comes through Lot and his incestuous relation with his daughter. In verse 38, and the younger, she also bare a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day. We're going to meet the Ammonites later when we get into the story of the Exodus. So the Moabites, the Ammonites, these oftentimes enemies of Israel, where do they trace back to? They trace back to this terrible, terrible situation between Lot and his daughters. So honestly, I think in this chapter, I think we look at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah and focus on that. To me, the last part of it is the saddest, sickest part of it. The corruption of Lot. Lot knew better. But look at what happened, the price he paid. Look at the price he paid in his own family. And the situation going forward. Somebody see him and those boys. Well, hey, whose boy is that? Well, it's mine. Oh, who's the mom? It's my daughter. I mean, just terrible, terrible situation. That's things that even the wicked, even the people of Sodom and Gomorrah probably didn't even stoop that low. So just a terrible, terrible situation. The humiliation of Lot, the fall of Lot and his family, and like I say, one that's going to bear repercussions later on in the story of the descendants of Abraham and Lot. So anyway, there we go. We finished that chapter. It's a very critical chapter. It's not one of my favorites to deal with by any stretch in the scriptures, but very, very, very important to cover. So I appreciate you watching. I hope it's been a help and a blessing to you.